Hi guys, how's it going? In today's video, we will examine the complexity of the dilemma that the Brexit game has presented. And we're going to try to identify just how high those stakes really are today. And not talking about tomorrow. Of course, we will also look at the solution. A solution that is inevitable if the next government has the kahunas to carry it out. Okay? But before we start, I ask that if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe bell and share icon. Every time somebody takes action on one of those icons, more people are exposed to the channel, and that increases awareness of how the Numpty Brigade have just screwed the country over. So let's go. So, as we predicted in previous videos, Boris has decided to delay the introduction of import inspections on certain food items. Now, the report kind of identifies and focuses on chilled meats imported from the EU that will be exempted from such checks and therefore will solve many of the issues. Oh yeah? Really? What a load of absolute and utter crap. Do people seriously believe that story? The problems currently identified in the food chain distribution model will continue, nothing is solved, and so long as inspections are carried out in the north of Ireland, in compliance, by the way, with the WA and subsequent EU concessions, things are still screwed. Now, for the PM's office to say that the exemption will apply just to the chilled meats is also rubbish. Why? Because trailers travelling from the EU to the UK do not only contain chilled meats. Do you think a 40-foot chilled container travelling from, say, Ireland or France would be full of just chilled meat? What do you think the chances of those containers are of carrying butter or milk or cheese or other types of processed food? They're extremely high because nobody transports 25 tons of chilled meat. The result will be that this exemption will be applied to most, if not all, foodstuffs, no matter what they are. And if Boris and his esteemed brigade of numpties thinks for a second that he can simply isolate special attention towards EU products in the future in favour of products, say, from outside the EU, he is utterly bananas. He will face massive issues from the WTO, which, by the way, and needs to be remembered, is currently dominated by China. Now, for those of you out there who may need a little bit of reminding, remember now, that's the same country, China, whose warships are currently staring down the Royal Navy's new aircraft carrier, the Queen Elizabeth, in the South China Seas. Now, there may be some of you out there that may think this is not so important to the Chinese and therefore the WTO. To you, I say, grow up, get real. This is the real world. Just 4 days ago, in the Chinese government-sponsored news rag, it reported, and I'm quoting here, as you can see, UK sends less capable warships to the Asia Pacific, no threat to the People's Liberation Army. Their presence, though politically significant, is no match for China's basic combatants. That's according to their experts. They went on to give more details, simply to reaffirm their position in the South China Seas. They went on to name the two vessels, i.e. the HMS Tamar and the HMS Spey, that left Portsmouth on Tuesday afternoon and set out for the Indo-Pacific, the South China Seas, armed with only light weapons. And they went on to say the UK ships are only showing off their presence after Brexit. They mentioned it. And making political statements that the UK bows to the lead of the US. And just like the ongoing tour of the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier to the region, the vessels cannot yield any military significance. Now, that is the Chinese referring specifically to the Queen Elizabeth carrier being in South China Seas. and referring specifically to Brexit. Now, though no doubt the Royal Navy have deployed the submarines, the Chinese analysis is probably correct, unless, as they say, the Royal Navy is backed up by the US, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to work. And unless they've already built a staging point right under the noses of the Chinese, who have thousands of vessels in that area reporting back to Beijing, just as the Soviet fishing vessels did during the Cold War, this show by the HMS, Her Majesty's Navy, is just for political gain and for the benefit of securing a US trade deal. This has got nothing to do with the security of the South China Seas. Nothing at all to do with it. Okay? So in short, the UK will continue to get a short shift from the EU, will get isolated by the WTO, and will still not get the economic cooperation of the US in any trade deal that favors growth in the UK's economy over that of the US economy. It's just never going to happen at all. Now, no matter what way the numpty Boris moves, or anything the Oompa Loompa Lord Frost says or does, the game is over, and they have only one card left to play. Okay? And it all rests on the Northern Ireland Protocol. As we discussed yesterday, this is exactly what Donaldson, leader of the DUP, is banking on. The issue with that scenario is that should the UK continue to act the maggot, continue to release anti-EU rhetoric, continue to deflect the public's attention away from the catastrophe that is Brexit, the longer the amount of time Boris and the numpty brigade have to prepare a strategy to deflect voters' minds further away from the food shortages. This appears to be the only card that Boris can play, but he cannot continue to play the same card every day, every week, every month, every year. He can't continue to do that. Though reports suggest that Labour has now edged ahead of the Conservatives in recent polls, I'm sorry guys, bad news, I can't agree with them. I contacted those polling companies and asked how big the sample was, how was the geographical location of the respondents determined, from which database the sample was chosen, and for a copy of the questions that enabled them to produce such a result. Neither of them were able to provide answers in any satisfactory manner. I wish they could, but they weren't able to. However, all that being said, Boris still has a massive mountain to climb. He has to avoid the Christmas shortage at all costs, no matter the casualties. You see, the pandemic has been instrumental in the outcome and has contributed hugely, and far more than I think many realize. Okay? You see, as you all know, Santa arrives on Christmas Day, and the kids have a 24-hour pass to do whatever they want to whomever they want, as it should be, by the way. You know, it certainly wasn't my day. But in years gone by, much of decisions on what toys Santa should bring were driven by local TV. Today, however, as the kids have been doing almost everything online, including toy selection, Santa is going to have to dig very deep into a sack to find the toys that those kids have been looking at on social media sites. But those sites are mostly from outside the UK, from countries that do not have the same supply chain problems. Furthermore, adults will go from concerned to pissed off to being very annoyed within the space of a week if the shelves are in the supermarkets are empty, and they are going to be empty and are going to suffer more, and I think a lot more than they are right now. Remember guys, those drivers that are delivering the stuff, they'll have been working around the clock for the previous months leading up to Christmas. Added to that is the fact that all, not some, all of our vegetables need to come from outside the UK, because no crops are harvested during the winter in the UK that I know about. You don't see people out harvesting cabbage and potatoes and carrots and parsnips and broccoli in the middle of the winter. It doesn't happen. But this means that the trucks will arrive in the UK from Holland and then go back empty, because they'll otherwise get held up at the French customs post. Okay? You can be 100% certain that the transport costs throughout December are going to skyrocket. You can be certain that as the Christmas holiday period is the busiest time of the year by more than a small margin, the strains on warehousing, load management, deliveries will escalate. And as the UK already has a shortage of those skills, how bad do you think it's going to be during the Christmas period? Okay, let's attach logic to everything. However, on the upside for Boris is that he is forcing the EU to make a decision here. And I think that's his game. He doesn't give a toss about the voters, nor the Conservative Party, not really. But he does care about his own future. And that, and only that, will occupy his mind. Leaving the next PM with the same problems faced on January the 1st, 2021, with absolutely nothing done to accommodate the commitments of the UK government, he could just leave behind a nation that has become, quite frankly, a source of laughter for the rest of the world. The new PM must tackle this, however. Okay? Now, what Boris is trying to do is say, we're not bringing in the new rules. So therefore, when we export goods from say, Liverpool to Belfast, they won't have the same customs checks. Therefore, those goods could come down into the south. So this has got nothing to do with the French border. This is using the Northern Ireland border and hoping to develop problems there. If the problem is ignored or swept aside in any way, it'll further entrench the outsiders' views that the UK is likely to become less stable than the EU. And then it's absolute anarchy, both economically and literally, because the North will blow up. You cannot, that's a gun ready to go off. If we have seen a single event to support the narrative that the UK is making up ground on our pre-Brexit position, I haven't seen it. The next PM must tell the people the truth. The next PM needs to roll out those top civil servants who are at the coalface and give them a platform to air their frustration and to tell the truth to the voters of Great Britain. Okay? If the next PM fails to take this action, they are sentencing the whole nation to travel on the Brexit bus, knowing full well that there's a cliff edge approaching and it's coming fast, and we no longer have any brakes on Boris's bloody Brexit bus. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and the like, and see you on the flip side. Take care.